Yesterday I was at Soul Farm with a group of my new friends, and we were there for Community Day to split and stack wood for the upcoming season of fire ceremonies and next fall's fires in the barn where we do ceremony. And one of the guys, as we were doing it, talked about, how much more connected he was going to feel to the whole experience next time, we were having a fire that we were burning with that wood. And that kind of landed for me this morning as I was sitting with, how we weave ourselves into community through contribution. And this is a principle that, kind of easily resonates with me because I've seen my parents do it so consistently over, the 4 and a bit decades that I've been alive. And they're such good models for how they do it in each of the different areas of their life. They're wonderful neighbors. At their 50th anniversary, the neighbors they'd had throughout, all the stages of their marriage were represented there. They do it, in their work communities, in their, within their church, within, causes that they're committed to. So I've had great examples of that. And so I've seen this principle play out. And how that's then shown up for me is, I think back to, from my days in university, and some of the clubs and, kind of groups I got involved with there. That was where I first started to forge it for myself. And then I've seen it, when I moved to Toronto and was part of, kind of young entrepreneurs communities and, running and CrossFit and, now more yoga communities. I'm starting to see it play out here. And it's also plays out in the community that I work with professionally. As members come in, one of the questions I often get asked is, who are the members that get the most out of this community? And my response, now that I've started to see it play out over the past 12 years, is the ones that lean in and give and respond the most to other members of the community are the ones that get the most back out of it. So it's the members who, when an ask is put in the forum, that they show up and they answer, they hop on a call, they open up their Rolodex, and through each of those actions, they're weaving themselves into the fabric of the community. And when we feel a part of the fabric of the community that we're a part of, man, does it ever feel like home and peaceful. And we experience more of the joy and love that's a part of that community. And so, as I've moved here to the Cambridge area, I've been actively seeking these opportunities in a number of ways. Soul Farm is one of them. Looking for opportunities to be there for members of the yoga community I'm a part of. Being a part of the local conservation association here in the community that I live in, volunteering with the shelter in Cambridge and looking to, make sure that I'm not just connected to, certain pockets of the community, but I feel pulled or called to ensure that inclusion of those members of my community as well. So as I've been, just kind of reflecting on what I pulled from yesterday, that idea really, kind of landed and took root for me, that there is something really meaningful about how we weave ourselves into community through contribution. And the gifts of peace, love, and joy are super abundant as we do.